Hello, I'm David Chaston with 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz. This week, get everything you need to know in 90 seconds at 9 o'clock, including news of geopolitical crisis, but oddly stable financial markets. But first, in the US, there's a noticeable change in their jobs market being reported. The power is shifting from employers to employees, with more regions facing skill shortages, and pay levels are starting to rise there. But the big events are still geopolitical. Just as the Ukraine crisis seems to be easing, the one in Iraq is coming to a head. The dominant Shia bloc that controls the Iraqi parliament has lost patience with the prime ministership of Nouri al-Maliki and nominated an alternative. Maliki has control of the Baghdad security forces, though. The next day or so will determine how the direction of Iraq goes. The oil and investment markets are watching closely. The Russian food sanctions look like they could have a distorting effect, especially on dairy prices. Aussie dairy farmers are hoping New Zealand actually does take up its opportunity to supply Russia, thereby limiting the downward price pressure on them in other markets. But Fonterra is unlikely to be tempted. That Russian opportunity might be limited, and they could be left with fewer clients elsewhere when the Ukraine crisis blows over. And now here's an update of a story from last year, rare earths. You may recall the furor when China tried to limit exports. It was taken to the WTO over its actions and lost. The fear was that it would strangle key parts of the high-tech manufacturing industry. Well, that hasn't happened, and hasn't turned out that well for China. Prices have fallen 70%, and China's rare earths market is a mess. The news in the interest rate and currency markets is one of very low volatility. Prices for commodities, money, and currencies are unusually stable at present. Equity markets rose modestly in New York today, relieved about the easing tensions in the Ukraine. US Treasury 10-year yields are virtually unchanged at 2.43%. The US oil price is stable at $98 a barrel. Brent is still just under $105 a barrel. Gold is down marginally, is now $1,380 an ounce. The story is the same for currencies. We're still at 84.6 US cents, still at 91.3 Aussie cents, and the TWI remains at 79.3. All this directional stability is a trifle unnerving. I'm David Chaston. That was 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz.